Right now, as you're watching this, your body is breaking itself apart and building itself back up. It turns out some parts of you are barely the same from one week to the next. I'm Kelly Dingus, a senior scientist here at Danone R&I, and human milk is my field of expertise. With PhD in proteomics and nutrition science, protein science is really close to my heart. And while I know a lot about the topic, I don't have all the answers. And right now, everyone is talking about protein. So I went to the people who actually study this for a living to get some answers. I started with one of our resident protein experts, Artie van Helvoort, and I figured I'd start at the beginning. Why does protein matter so much in the first place?
Proteins are everywhere, but also proteins are everywhere in your body. And so it's good to realize that about 17% of all the mass in your body is coming from protein. It has a lot of different functions. So everybody, I think, realizes that the muscle is made of protein. But there's also a lot of other functions that you should be aware of.
Proteins do so much more than build muscle. They're the enzymes that drive every chemical process inside of you. They form many of the hormones and signaling molecules in your brain. They're the antibodies that keep you healthy. Muscle is just the headline. The real work that happens is out of sight. Can we dive a little bit more into those everyday protein needs?
What people don't often realize is that the body is constantly breaking down and renewing. So you look quite the same like you did a few days back. But if you realize the changes that happen in your body all the time, you'll understand that you are today not the same than you were half a year ago.
Wait, let that sink in. Right now, as you're watching this, your body is breaking itself apart and building itself back up. And the only thing it has to build with? The food that you eat. But how fast is constantly actually? It turns out some parts of you are barely the same from one week to the next.
In the liver, 20% of the proteins are replaced every day. And for the intestine, it's even faster. And that means that your intestinal layer is fully replaced every 5 days. So there is a constant breakdown and rebuilding. And there's no storage pool in your body where you can get these proteins from. So the only way to get them is from your diet.
When it comes to protein intake, there's so much to consider. How much? How often? What kinds? And how good? I asked Artie to break it down for us. And he told me something most people don't know. While quantity of protein is important, getting the right protein quality is just as key.
And quality is determined by the digestibility of proteins. So how easy is it for the body to absorb the proteins into your blood, but also the type of amino acids that are in there. So as you know, a protein is made of amino acids. There's about 20 different amino acids in a protein, different types of building blocks. And in these amino acids, there's about 9 of them that are essential, and you can only get them from the diet. And in the diet, then there should be sufficient amount of these amino acids in all the different proteins that we eat in total, so that we can continuously replenish the needs of the body.
How would you suggest I really get these proteins in my diet? What are the best sources?
There's not a black and white answer in there. So we know that animal proteins are really good proteins with respect to quality. So then I mean digestibility again. They have all the building blocks present that also reflect the composition of our body. But also plant proteins are really good proteins. And what we need to know is that we combine the different plant sources together.
The protein needs aren't exactly one size fits all. To make protein work for you, that depends on a variety of factors. Meet Muriel. She's been training hard for a big cycling race that's coming up. We met her at the NCRU, our clinical research unit. And like many others, she's got a ton of questions about protein.
Lately, I've increased my level of proteins because I know and I experienced that taking proteins actually enables me for greater results on a long-term basis. But why do athletes actually need these increased protein levels? What are the added benefits?
And Muriel's biggest question? Whether athletes actually need more protein than everyone else. For the answers, I sat down with Andy, one of our muscle experts.
So athletes do have higher protein needs than sedentary people. The amount of exercise that they're doing allows their body to adapt in positive ways to allow them to do more exercise And the protein in the diet, if they have higher amounts of protein in the diet, then they can recover at a faster rate and they can adapt to a greater extent generally. Timing is really interesting because when you exercise, you sensitize the muscles to all of the dietary protein that you eat in your normal meals.
And that's when Andy pulled back the curtain. He walked me through how they actually capture this in real time at the NCRU. And it's some of the coolest science I've ever seen close up.
So on the bike in particular, we can have people cycle and put their muscles under a little bit of stress, requiring more energy coming from different systems. With a face mask on and measuring the air that people are breathing and what they're exhaling, we can measure what kinds of different fuels they're using. So if they're using carbohydrate as a fuel or fats as a fuel, and we can also use the bike to see in a set amount of distance, how fast they can complete that distance as a performance measurement.
In the end, we would like to look into functionality. And there we have, of course, different tools. You can either look in sports people getting stronger, getting more muscle mass, which you can nicely measure. You can do that by measuring the weight, but there's also scanners that you can use to, like for instance, a DEXA scanner or a CT scan, or even an MRI scan, where you really look into the amount of muscle, but also in the quality of the muscle.
Andy explained that timing is an essentially interesting part of the picture. When you exercise, your muscles become more sensitive to the protein you eat, and that effect can last up to 48 hours. The science on this is still evolving, but it suggests it's not just about a post-workout shake. Every meal in that rebuild window counts. That's why spreading protein across the day matters. One moment Andy notices that often is overlooked is right before bed, to give your body what it needs to rebuild overnight. There's a catch though. More protein is not always better.
The only thing you need to realize, you need to use it. And so if you're inactive and you use extreme high amount of protein, it's basically energy that your body uses to build that. So that's why I always recommend take the amount of protein that you need for the activity or for the health condition in which you are in.
But what if your body isn't building? What if it's fighting? That's where the story takes an interesting turn.
If you're sick, you get inflammation ongoing. And inflammation is sort of an alarm bell. It says your body, now you really need to focus on the immune system. You need to fight this disease, or you need to deal with this severe condition. So you need more proteins. And in patients, they often have difficulties to get more proteins from their meal.
Have you ever been so sick you can't even stomach to look at what's on your plate? When the immune system is working overtime, your body is desperately searching for proteins to fuel it. And where does it find them when the intake is so low? That's right, muscle.
And that's also why you see the accelerated loss of muscle during diseases like cancer or people that stay in the ICU. What you see, for instance, if older people go to a hospital and they lay down for only a few days, they lose 1 kilogram of muscle. And if they are in the critical care unit, it even is worse, because then there's the inflammation that accelerates the wasting. If I talk to my colleagues in the critical care unit in Maastricht, we learn that for them the only thing is tolerance. Tolerance is critical.
Quick note, when Artie says tolerance, he means how well a compromised or overactive immune system can handle protein. In cancer or ICU patients, that's a real concern.
So we need to develop the proteins in such a way that they are easily passing the stomach and are easily digested, but also very importantly then well tolerated. So we wish to have proteins that do not lead to high satiation, and also preferably even come in the future with proteins that help the appetite of patients.
Illness isn't the only thing that takes muscle. Time does it too.
People are at their strongest at about 25 years of age, and gradually we lose muscle while getting older. So while aging, it is important to stay active, to do your walks, to do your sports if you can still do, but also make sure that you get the right quality and the right amount of proteins in. Anything that you've built earlier in life, you will use as a sort of a pool for it's sort of a health capital that you build. If you have a strong locomotory system, you will be able to keep that for longer. And therefore, you need to continuously work on that by workout and by eating.
That's the moment my whole picture flipped. Viewing protein as a slice of your health capital. Protein isn't fuel for today. It's your reserve for your building blocks for decades to come from now. Designing protein for different needs is one thing, but it doesn't work if people don't actually want to eat it. Making protein taste good? That is a science of its own.
What can really Danone do in this space as well?
No, I think what Danone can do is first of all, they can make sure that they have the right quality of protein. And that, depending on the source, is a combination of dairy proteins, can be plant-based proteins. But also it really depends on what are the needs of a consumer. So we have a lot of vegan or vegetarian people that do not want to have animal-derived proteins. And then it's really important that we also cater for them with solutions that bring sufficient amount of protein, but also good quality proteins that are easily digested, well absorbed, and lead to the benefits that you can expect from the proteins that they consume.
And what do you really see as like the next horizon in protein research?
It's always difficult to look in a glass ball. But if I try to project the future, I think there will be proteins that we can tailor for the needs of the consumer. For instance, with precision fermentation, you can tailor the amino acid structure in such a way that it maximizes in a tasty way the balance of the proteins. So precision fermentation with beneficial effects would be my ultimate dream.
The science on protein is so much more than just what goes on in the body. It's about making it work for the twists and turns of real life. For researchers, what that looks like varies widely. It can range from studying health benefits to engineering proteins, to taste testing and experience through sensory and UX research. Because ultimately, protein only matters if you're actually eating it. So a big focus is on creating formats that can fit easily into diverse routines, whether it's breakfast, a snack, or right before bed. Before we wrap up, I asked Artie to land one thing he really wants people to take away.
What I think I really want to leave behind is that protein is not only for muscle. Protein is important for all kinds of body functions in your life, and that you need to make sure that you get the right amount and the right quality of proteins in on a regular basis in your diet.
Every meal, every workout, it stacks up, quietly, invisibly, day after day, building the version of yourself who's still here in 50 years. No wonder everyone's talking about protein. Being mindful of it isn't just for athletes. It might be one of the smartest investments you'll ever make. The most underrated thing your body does? Now you know.